Hi, my name's Horton and I'm an application engineer for our 3D documentation team here at FARO UK. What I'd like to do is introduce you to the FARO Freestyle, and in this first movie talk about FARO Scene Capture for capturing data using the device. So, what is the FARO Freestyle? It's a 3D handheld colour laser scanner. It's plug and play, no warm-up is required. It's less than a kilogram in weight, so easy to use. It's dust protected to IP5X. It has integration with the FARO Focus 3D data, and it is a Class 1 laser product. The scanning system itself plugs into a Microsoft Surface 3, which can be provided in the kit. So, features and functions. The unit features a start-stop button on the back of the device. It also has a USB with a USB 3 plug for plugging into your tablet or to your laptop. So as you can see, the device here is carbon fiber. At both positions 3, we have infrared cameras. Those are picking up unique dots that are being projected on the surface by the infrared projector with Class 1 laser. In the center, we have a color camera that is also giving you the ability to light the surface with an LED light. The unit projects a light pattern onto the surface, which is only visible by the infrared cameras top left and top right. Those then, through a series of triangulated points, are picking up measured dots onto the surface that you're scanning. The accuracy of the device at about a meter is less than 1.5 millimeters. Operating temperatures range from 0 to 40 degrees. The source of power is actually coming from the Surface tablet and will give you probably about 3 hours worth of scanning. In the case, it's been designed to fit everything into a standard Pele case, which is the same Pele case as the FARO Focus. Here you can see the device at the center with the charging cables, the handle on the left, and all the USB card readers. On the next level down has the Microsoft Surface Pro 3 tablet with pointing device, and at the bottom you have the carbon fiber calibration plate. Each plate is unique to each scanner. This enables the calibration to be done by the user as and when required. So, for the workflow, if we're just using the Freestyle, we do the scanning, we then process those scan sequences, we then go through a process of registration, and we then use that data to collaborate. To capture the data, we use a new piece of software called Scene Capture. We then take that data into Scene Process to process our scan sequences and perform the registration, and then we share that data through WebShare Cloud. If we're using the data in conjunction with the Freestyle, then again we go through the same process, but this time we capture with Scene Capture, and we then process the data in the new Scene 5.4, and again that data can be passed out through WebShare Cloud. Having been through the technicalities of the product, what I'd like to introduce you to now is FARO Scene Capture. Scene Capture is built on the back of Scene, but with all the complex menus removed to give you a nice, easy, clean interface. The concept of Scene Capture is to capture data directly from the Freestyle. I'm actually plugged into my laptop at the moment, but normally I use the Microsoft Surface tablet supplied with my particular device. So at the moment I'm looking at my project overview. I haven't done any scans, so no projects are visible. If I had done some scans, all the projects will be listed here. And at the top right, I have similar search functionalities to that of FARO Scene, so I can start to mark favourites or put various projects in an ignore list. I can also sort by the last modified, last opened, popularity or project name. And if I've got a lot of projects on the system, I can start to type the name in the search box here, and it will alter what I see in the project overview. So the first and most important icon here is the calibration icon. There are 4 colours that you're likely to see. If the icon is grey, this would indicate that no device is connected to your laptop or tablet. If the device is green, what this is telling you is that the calibration file that's contained on the Freestyle device itself has been transferred and the calibration is good. If you see an amber or yellow icon, this is telling you that one of the sensors on the device is out of alignment, and therefore using the calibration plate provided in the box and the calibration file provided on the microSD card, you need to calibrate the system again. If you do this, then that successful calibration is loaded back onto the microchip of the Freestyle device, meaning that any other Microsoft product that you plug it into, it will automatically come up with a green light if everything's good. And last, if the calibration icon is red, it means that the calibration's failed and you need to calibrate before using. The next icon along is a white balance. In areas where you have a variation in colour due to lighting, what you will notice sometimes is that you'll have a colour difference. So what we can perform a manual white balance calculation to start to edit out some of the irregularities in the colour that you see. You'll notice that we have a record button. Whilst we tend to press the button on the back of the Freestyle to start record, if you're in an area where you can't quite press the button, or a colleague is holding the tablet and they want to automatically start the recording for you, or you've fashioned a telescopic arm to raise the device above a suspended ceiling tile, for instance, and you can't reach the button, then you can manually start the record process from your laptop or your tablet. The next few icons are greyed out, but they will allow us to set up an automatic level, take measurements, view the scans, rotate them, change the point spacing, flip between perspective and orthographic, and also flip between fly and examine mode. And lastly, we have the options. In here, we can set the range to target. As mentioned previously, the device has a 0.5 meter standoff, and we normally work up to about 3 meters, but in testing, we have captured data up to 10 meters. I tend to leave mine at 5 meters. We can also turn on or off the follow camera here. We can detect automatic markers, which we'll do at a little bit later stage in the example I've got set up. And we can turn the flash on or off. We can also turn the flash on or off on the fly using the icon on the screen. Our saving location here, now I'm using my laptop, but I've actually got the device connected back to a micro SD card. If we were using the Surface tablet, we could either save the data directly onto the hard drive of that Microsoft Surface, or we can save it directly to the micro SD card, which then enables us to transfer data from one device to another. And at the bottom, we've got our project base name. That about covers the settings, so now what we're going to do is start to look at some scanning. So, before capturing the data, what I'm going to do is go through a few areas that you might come into contact with. Firstly, I've plugged the device into my laptop. On the device, I have a blue light on the button, which tells me it's connected and it's ready to capture data. On the screen, I can also see that my calibration light is green, so I know that the calibration file has been transferred from the Freestyle to my laptop. Also, every time you start seeing capture, you have a dialog box that asks you whether you would like to do a calibration. All I'm going to do is click no on that, and then to induce some errors, what I'm actually going to do is go in and change my range to target to be 0.5 meter. I'm going to leave detect markers and flash off for now, and I'm going to leave the default name. So as soon as we're ready, if I take the device, press the button on the back, this will automatically start up scene capture into capture mode, and straight away on the right hand side you can see that the video camera is starting to capture data of where I'm moving the device around from and to. The green dots are being projected by the projector, and it's picking up points of interest, which tells me that I've got a good distribution of measurable points. It's also tracking where it's been and where it's going to, so it can link the frames together. On the left hand side, you can see that no physical data is being collected, but I do have this symbol here which enables me to turn the flash on or off in areas which become dark. So if I turn that on, you can straight away see on the right hand side that it's become more illuminated, or I can turn it off. We can also toggle the views by clicking on the icons here, either into track mode, in scanning mode, or having everything on. So if ever you find yourself with no windows on the screen, simply click on those icons there and you're away. So what I'm actually going to do is press stop on that scan because I'm not close enough to the data. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the settings and change them. First off, you can see on the screen, all I have is a yellow or orange line, and this is telling me that this is the path I've traced with the scanner, but actually there is no data behind it. So all we do is click on options, and we're going to change that back to 5 meters. At the same time as doing that, I'm going to click detect markers, and I'm also going to turn on the flash. When I'm happy that everything's set up, close the dialog box, take the Freestyle again, press the start button, and now what you'll see is a series of yellow animated areas, and this is telling me that the data capture is good. So areas where I haven't got yellow are areas where it's not capturing data, and on the left hand side you can start to see the point cloud building up. The slower I move, the more data is being captured, because the resolution is controlled by the speed and the angle at which you're moving the device. So if you start to twist the device, if I twist to the right, you'll notice that the image on the right and the left are starting to twist, but I'm actually capturing data in and around behind that sphere. If you inadvertently move too quickly, then what you'll get on the screen is the system telling you that in the bottom right hand corner, this is the point at which we lost tracking, and in the top left is the active camera which is saying position yourself in that location and I'll continue to scan. So you can see there all I did was slowly move across. What I'm going to do now is press stop. This will then return back to the screen. It will load all the steps from each scan or each frame into the system. It will then save that data and we're ready to start viewing the data. Now, if I was scanning a vertical object, what I would probably do is move in horizontal strokes, either starting at the top or starting at the bottom. If I were doing a horizontal object, say a window or a large cupboard or something like that, then I would move in long vertical strokes. The reason for this is that when we go into scene process, we have the ability to split a scan. So for instance, if you've moved too quickly and you've lost the frame connection between scans, what you can do is use the split command in scene process, which I'll show you in the next movie, and roll back the movie to the point at which the error occurred, and you can then split the data. Then, using the registration functionality in scene process, you can join that data back together again. So on the screen, you'll see the results of our scan. If I click the center of rotation, and I can zoom in and start to rotate around and look at the data. Because the system has no built-in inclinometer, we also have the ability to level a scan. Just by simply picking 3 points on the floor, that will level the scan and tell me that that particular area is flat on the screen, so it aligns back to our common UCS. To save a little bit of time, what I've actually done is gone in and performed 2 scans in the cupboard. I've done one covering the left-hand side of the cupboard and one covering the right-hand side of the cupboard. I haven't spent too long trying to pick up the detail. I thought I'd just create the scans that I can then link into the focus data at a later date. So before we move on to the next subject in the room, one little tip. What you'll see here is now we've done the scans, we've got scan 01 and scan 02. If we do further scans in the project, those are obviously going to be called scan 03 and scan 04 and so on and so forth. But I'm actually doing 2 different subjects in the same room but in the same project. So what I'm going to do in here is start to rename and structure the scans. I'm thinking about when I bring this data into FARO scene and I start to link it with focus data. So first off, in the same way as we would do in FARO scene, I'm going to create a new cluster. This cluster is going to be called cupboard. Click OK, and I'm going to pop scans 1 and 2 into that cluster. If I don't rename the scans in scene capture, then when I bring them into process and ultimately FARO scene, once they've been processed, I can't change the name. So all I'm going to do in here, to make it easier for me to understand, I'm going to rename this one here to be cupboard _1, and then this one here to be cupboard _2. I've now got both scans underneath their own cluster. In doing this as well, it means that I can treat both these scans separately when it comes to registration. To aid the registration, what you can see on the screen straight away is that I've placed several markers in the environment, and the system, because I had the detect marker option turned on, has automatically picked up those markers, which when I then go into the registration process, it should pick those up and make the registration process a lot easier. In the room, I've also got another subject that I'd like to scan. All I'm going to do is press the button on the Freestyle again. This will initialize the sensor, and straight away we're into scan mode. So I'm just going to move up and collect a couple of targets first, which will aid in my registration, and then move across the subject, which, as you can see, is a fighter jet. As I move across, you can see that it's automatically picking up some of the markers that I've placed. This will allow me to get a little bit more detail, which I probably couldn't get with a focus scanner because I'd have to do multiple locations. But all I'm going to do is move slowly across the surface and then keep an eye that I'm picking up my markers on the right hand side. So again, what I'm going to do is a couple of scans, press the stop button. Again, the system will save the frames and it will create scan number 1 over on the left hand side. As you can see, because I've renamed the cupboard scans, it's automatically created another scan number 1. Again, now I've got that side covered, I'm just going to pick up on the wall over here, pick up the marker on the top. Now I don't have to use markers, I don't have to use targets. All this will become apparent when we go into scene process, but for the purposes of this, they're just static based markers that are non-adhesive but capture onto the surface and just make the process of registration a lot easier. So again, just move consistently over the area just to pick up all the data that I potentially missed on the first scan, and then press the stop button again. Again, before we move on to another scan, what we can do is set the rotation point on the screen, zoom in, set a level on the floor, make sure we've got all the data captured that we needed to. Because I'm in scan 2 here, I'm actually going to rename it and call it plane 2. And then we'll check scan 1. Again, click on the screen, click the rotation point. Again, rename this one to be plane 1. And again, I'm going to create a new cluster. Now, when I import this data into scene process, it will automatically bring in these clusters. Also, when I get to the movie where I'm going to combine FARO focus data with FARO Freestyle data, when I import this project into FARO scene, where I already have my focus data set up, it will automatically bring in these clusters as well. So straight away, I'm starting to build some structure. If we go back into cupboard, and a couple of things we can start to do in here, we can start to take dimensions. So we have a dimension tool, whereby if we click on a surface and click on the floor, again, similar to FARO scene, it will start to give us the distance between the two. So we've got 1.9 meters. We can also start to play around with things like the point spacing. So just by clicking on the point size, it will change the view. We can flip between fly mode and examine mode. And we can also toggle between orthographic and perspective. That about covers the use of FARO scene capture. The most important thing I need to remember to do now is to click save. In the next movie, we'll look at bringing this data into FARO scene process and linking the scans together, both in their own individual clusters. And then, in a further movie, we'll look at bringing that data into FARO scene and linking it directly with FARO focus scans. Thank you for watching. I hope it's been of use, and please feel free to look out for forthcoming movies.